One of the questions that I'm most frequently asked when I start talking to someone who's trying to make a decision on their CRM isn't, what should I be looking for? The question that I get most often is, what do I need to know to set up my CRM? Hey everyone, Ian Campbell here. I am CEO of Mission Suite. Before we jump into today's video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're notified every time that we post new videos. So I've been doing this for over 10 years now. I've been helping clients get their Mission Suite accounts up and running. I've worked on hundreds of account setups with the amount of information that's available on the internet these days, and a lot of it hopefully provided by Mission Suite. By the time that my clients are talking to me about their CRM, they usually know what they're looking for. What is always a question, though, whether they're new to CRM or moving from a different one, is what they need to know to help them make a smooth transition into a CRM. So I thought I'd put together the top things that I recommend my clients have ready before they get signed up for their new CRM platform. First of all, know who's going to be using the CRM and what you want to allow them to use in the CRM. This is a pretty big deal, and it's something that's probably going to help you make a decision on which CRM to use too. With a CRM platform like Mission Suite, there's no additional charge to add new users, so you can add as many of them as you'd like without having to drive up the cost, and you can decide what permissions they have as well. And that's a great thing for most businesses, but with that comes the question, who really needs access to your CRM? As a matter of security, or maybe just to prevent accidental issues, you don't necessarily want to have people accessing your CRM if they don't really need it. I mean, this can lead to all sorts of issues that you're just better off avoiding. And even people who do need to access your CRM probably don't need full access, right? Not everybody needs as much access as you may. I'm sure that there are people working with you who you probably don't want to have the ability to delete contacts or remove user access. Right? This is something that can be crucially important to know before you get your account set up. Now, I can't speak to other platforms, but I know that who else do you want to give access to your account is the first question that we ask when we're facilitating a setup for one of our clients. We actually have a user access guide spreadsheet that helps our clients decide what permissions their users should have. And there's actually a link to in the description below where you can go fill out a form and then download that spreadsheet to help you make those decisions too. Second, know how you want to segment your database. Segmenting your database is a great way to make sure that you're focusing your efforts, be they sales or marketing, to the right group of people. More often than not, segments like clients, prospects, and newsletter are usually standards, but there are a lot of ways that you may be able to segment your list. A few things to consider when you're deciding how to segment your database are, do you have salespeople with specific territories? If you have multiple salespeople who aren't simply working from a community list, then that's one of the top segmentations that you're going to want to implement. Doing so is going to prevent Tom from overlapping leads or pulling leads from Sarah's list. It's also going to help you keep your salespeople focused. I found that salespeople have the tendency to be curious by nature, and that is great for exploring opportunities, finding deals, finding leads, all those things that might be in front of them. But it can also lead to a wandering eye and a tendency to wonder what's going on over there. If you can avoid that by segmenting your list, then that's going to be all the better. So the second thing that I look for, are you going to be setting up automation for different people using your CRM? This is something that may only have an impact for you if you're choosing a CRM with automation, but if you want each individual salesperson to have their own automation set up for outreach, follow-up, and things like that, you're probably going to need to create segments for each of those salespeople. The third thing, do you communicate differently or brand yourself differently for different target industries? Perfect example of this, Mission Suite works with business owners. We work with sales teams, manufacturing companies, software companies, IT companies, but we also work with touring musicians. And the way that I'm going to talk to a business owner or a sales team is very different than the way that I'm going to be talking to a touring musician. I want to make sure that there's no overlap where one might get a communication that's going to be intended for another. So I'm going to make sure that those two groups are well segmented. Third, know what activities you want to track. If you're working with a good CRM platform, you're going to be able to customize the different types of activities that you want to track. Things like phone calls, voicemails, meetings, proposals, so on and so forth. When you're getting ready to set up a new CRM, think about what those activities are going to be. What's important for you to be able to review when you're looking at the history of your interaction with a contact or a client or prospect, whoever they may be? Do you want to know about every networking meeting separately from a qualifying meeting, separately from a lunch meeting? Or is it going to suffice to know that you had a meeting with that person, and in the notes you can go into more detail about whether it was for networking, qualifying, lunch, whatever? What types of activities do you need to remind yourself of, and how specific do they need to be? Do you need a reminder to write the proposal, or is follow-up going to be good enough with write proposal detail in the notes? Is that going to work for you? As you're going through this process, remember that it's really easy to get lost in creating a bunch of different types of activities that never actually get used, and as a result are just going to clutter up the system for you or your salespeople. It's important to make sure that you have as many activity types as you need to, but no more. The last thing you want to do is confuse yourself or anyone else with more clutter and end up with inconsistent data from a tracking and reporting perspective. Fourth, know your sales process. Again, any good CRM is going to let you customize the sales process that you build into it. They all have standard stages, typically something to the effect of qualified lead, discovery, proposal, negotiation, closed won, and closed lost. But a lot of businesses either don't use that lingo to describe their process, they have fewer stages in the process, or they have a completely different way that they want to use that capability. If you know what your sales process is, that's going to help you and whoever you're working with to get your CRM up and running and make sure that it's specific to you, which will increase the odds of it actually being used and being useful to your team. And finally, know what fields you want to set up. The question of custom fields can be one of the most challenging questions of this whole setup process, mostly because a lot of people don't understand why they would use fields beyond the basic fields anyway, right? Think about your suspect questions and your qualifying questions. Think about whether or not you need that information stored in the contact record. For example, if your perfect suspect is someone in manufacturing that makes $5 million in revenue and has 100 employees, then industry, revenue, and employee count are going to be fields that you need to make sure are built into that system. If one of your qualifying questions is, are you currently using an on-site server or a cloud server? Then you probably want that as a field in your contact record as well. Having these things set up as custom fields in your system will help you find the contacts that are in your database who meet specific criteria and will help you build your lead list or call list that much faster. As a bonus, custom fields can also be great training tools to teach a new salesperson exactly what questions that they need to answer at each stage of the sales process. So that's it. The 5 most important things that you need to know to prepare to set up your CRM. Now, I mentioned the user access guide spreadsheet earlier, but we also have a CRM implementation guide that's going to help you get your CRM set up, whether you're using Mission Suite or not. There are links to access both in the description below, so drop down and check those out. Listen, I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and maybe give it a share so that others can see it too. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you're notified every time that we post new videos, and while you're at it, check these videos out, and we'll see you next time around. Cheers.